Let's settle this once and for all. Which is the best S&P 500 ETF that you should invest in, and which is the best broker that you can use to invest in it. In this video, I'll be comparing all the available options so that you have a clearer idea which you should go for. But before I start, do join my 10,000 members Telegram chat group to discuss or ask any questions that you may have. First up, which is the best S&P 500 ETF that you should invest in? For people who are from countries that don't have a tax treaty with the US, like Singapore and Malaysia, the two best S&P 500 ETFs that you can go for are either CSPX or SPYL. But why? This chart by the InvestQuest explains this nicely. If you are investing in an US domiciled ETF like SPY or VOO, you'll be slapped with a 30% dividend withholding tax, which means for every $100 dividend payout, you will instantly lose $30, which is super painful, yeah? So to avoid this 30% tax, the next best alternative that you can go for would be ETFs that are domiciled in Ireland, such as CSPX and SPYL. That way, you get to cut your dividend withholding tax down to just 15%. Okay, I know 15% dividend withholding tax is still painful, but it's still much better than paying the full 30% tax. Besides that, another huge benefit of investing in Ireland domiciled ETFs like CSPX and SPYL is that you get to avoid estate tax after you have passed away. Oh, sorry, not you. I mean whoever gets to inherit your investments, you get to avoid the estate tax after you pass away. That's because when you pass away, your US domiciled investments can be subjected to up to 40% estate tax, which will take away a huge chunk of your portfolio. Meanwhile, Ireland does not apply its estate tax to non-Irish residents, so what's yours will be yours to keep. Because of these two reasons, the two best S&P 500 ETFs that you can go for are CSPX and SPYL. But between the two of them, which one should you go for? Both of them have many similarities. For example, their performances are almost the same. Both of them track the S&P 500 index, they reinvest the dividends, and they have almost the same allocation. The main difference here is that CSPX has a higher expense ratio of 0.07%, whereas SPYL's expense ratio is just 0.03%. So it would be better to go for SPYL because it's cheaper, right? Not so fast. Some people will point out that because CSPX has a bigger fund size, therefore it's a lot more popular. And because of that, CSPX has a better bid-ask spread, right? Well, not quite, because according to my test, both of them actually have around the same bid-ask spread of around 0.02% to 0.03%, which means with all things being equal, SPYL would still be the best S&P 500 ETF that you can go for. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about which is the best broker that you can use to invest in Ireland domiciled S&P 500 ETFs. For this video, I've shortlisted 3 brokers, namely Interactive Brokers, FSMOne, and Scythe. So let's go through them. First up, Interactive Brokers. Interactive Brokers is well known for their low fees. For the UK market, they are charging a super low $1.70 commission. Not to mention, if you set up a regular savings plan to buy the ETFs, you will get to avoid the $2 currency conversion fee, which means you get to save on even more money. However, there's just one problem. If you try to buy SPYL via the normal way, you will end up buying it on the EBS Swiss Stock Exchange, which means you'll be charged a much higher $4 commission instead. Though, thankfully, you can still force IBKR to buy SPYL via the London Stock Exchange. And that is by opening up IBKR desktop, search for SPYL, then at the one that says EBS, click on the right arrow and choose LSE ETF. Then, right before you place your order, click on the Advanced button, and finally, at the destination, choose LSE ETF. That way, you will be able to force IBKR to buy via the London Stock Exchange and pay a much lower fee. Though, because you aren't going through the normal smart routing, IBKR will be charging you an extra 20 cents to 30 cents. And because you are buying this manually, you also have to pay the $2 currency conversion fees whenever you convert your money. But I guess it's a small price to pay for salvation. Next, FSMOne. The biggest benefit of using FSMOne is that whenever you are using their RSP to buy ETFs on several exchanges, you will get to enjoy 0% processing fees. This means you can use FSMOne to buy CSPS and SPYL for free. Though exchange-related fees and GST charges will still apply, of course. However, even though FSMOne lets you invest for free, when you eventually need to sell your holdings, FSMOne will be charging you a 0.15% fee with a minimum of $20. Though I wouldn't say that it is bad, since if you are investing over the long term, you will have already saved up quite a bit of money on the buy side. Lastly, we have Scythe Brokerage. So recently, Scythe started offering 6 Ireland domiciled ETFs on their platform. Currently, you get to invest in these ETFs for free all the way till the end of April. After that, it will be a flat 99 cents fee, which is incredibly cheap. However, there's things that you need to be aware of, and that is the orders are not executed in real time, and instead, they are scheduled to execute every Tuesday. So in a way, you won't be able to time the market. But I guess this isn't such a big deal, especially if you are investing regularly, because things will just smooth out over the long term. So with all being said, which is the cheapest broker to buy your S&P 500 ETF? Check this out. Since FSMOne doesn't charge processing fees when you buy via RSP, FSMOne is the cheapest broker here. This is followed by Scythe, which charges 99 cents when you buy CSPX, then IBKR for buying CSPX, and lastly, IBKR for buying SPYL. The reason IBKR SPYL costs a little more is because since I'm buying it manually to force it to buy from the London Stock Exchange, I won't get to save on a $2 currency conversion fee. So, case closed and FSMOne is the winner then? Well, there's just one more thing, and that is we have not taken into account the currency conversion spreads. You see, besides the trading commission, the other fee that will add up to your total cost is the currency conversion spread. For example, if the actual exchange rate is 1 SGD to 0.75 USD, but your broker is quoting you 1 SGD to 0.748 USD, this means for every 1 SGD you exchange, you are losing 0.2 cents. While that doesn't seem like a lot, if you are exchanging a lot of money, this can add up to quite a bit. For example, if you are exchanging 5,000 SGD, you are losing $10 every time you convert. So, what are the currency conversion spreads for each of the brokers? According to my test, Interactive Brokers' conversion rates are pretty close to the rates that you will see on Google, which means there's essentially no FX loss here. Meanwhile, FSMOne has a spread of around 0.3%, while Scythe has the highest spread of around 0.5%. So when you include the currency conversion spread, the chart goes from looking like this to looking like this. And this time, IBKR CSPX and IBKR SPYL ended up as the cheapest, whereas FSMOne cost a little more and Scythe CSPX cost the most. So does it mean that IBKR is the best broker to invest into your favorite S&P 500 ETF? Well, yes and no. Yes, as in IBKR is the cheapest broker, especially when you are investing a larger amount. But when you are investing a smaller amount, especially at $1,000 or less, both FSMOne and Scythe are actually charging a similar fee or even a cheaper fee than IBKR. Not just that, despite the lower fee, some people would still prefer using FSMOne and Scythe, as they are a lot more intuitive and easier to use, and their support is a lot more reachable in the event you need help. So it mostly depends on what you need. Lastly, if you do decide to settle with IBKR, even though buying CSPS looks cheaper than buying SPYL, don't forget that SPYL has a much lower expense ratio. This means if you are investing over the long term, eventually your total cost of investing in SPYL will still be the cheapest. For example, if you are investing $2,000, it will just take around 3.7 years for SPYL to be cheaper than CSPX. And if you are investing $4,000, it will only take you 1.68 years to break even. Or in other words, SPYL is still cheaper lah. So that was a quick comparison on what's the cheapest way to invest into the S&P 500. If you want to sign up to any of the brokers here, you can sign up using my links down in the description below. Hope you found this useful. Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.